Mga kaibigan, magandang umaga po. Day 168 ng ating community quarantine. Sus Mariosep, 168th day na po tayo. At magtatapos na po ang Agosto, naririto pa rin tayo. Pero magpasalamat na rin tayo mga kaibigan na tayo po ay nasa mabuting kalagayan. Kahit ano pong ating pagkakainip o yung ating mga reklamo, tayo po ay awa ng Diyos ay nasa mabuting kalagayan. Kami po last week medyo hindi maganda yung kalagayan namin at nawala tayo dahil sa konting problema sa ating network. Pero ngayon po ay balik po ang inyong paboritong kasama sa agahan sa almusal, ang Power and Play. Magandang umaga po sa lahat ng mga nakikinig sa atin sa pamamagitan ng Radyo 5, 92.3 News FM, lalong-lalo na po sa mga kaibigan natin sa Magpakaberde, sa De La Salle University, and of course ang ating kaibigan primo si Rene Baltasar. Magandang umaga po sa inyong lahat ng mga nakikinig sa Radyo 5, 92.3 News FM. At of course, yung pong lahat na nakatutok sa 1PH on Signal TV. Channel 1 yan sa Signal TV. Good morning everyone and thank you for joining us today on this beautiful Saturday morning, end of the month. Malapit na lumabas si Jose Marichan, sabi nga nila. Pero tayo nasa loob pa ng ating mga tahanan. Gusto rin po nating kamustahin lahat po ng mga nakatutok sa atin sa pamamagitan ng Facebook Live ng Radyo 5 92.3 News FM and of course Power and Play with Noli Iyala. At ganun din po ang mga nakatutok sa live stream ng Noli Iyala YouTube channel. So many things happening today and of course marami po tayong pag-uusapan dahil ang dami pong kaganapan na nangyari sa isang linggong nawala tayo. Talaga namang bagamat nag-aantabay pa rin po tayo sa ating mga pangyayari sa palakasan, ang dami na pong pumutok, lalong-lalo na yung tinatawag nilang bubble. Sabi nila meron daw mga bubble na baka mag-burst. Sana naman po ay hindi sapagkat tayo po ay natutuwa sa pagbabalik ng karamihan ng mga laro, lalong-lalo na sa basketball, yung pong NBA. But we'll be talking about the trouble in the bubble mamaya-maya po. And of course, we will patuloy po tayo nag-aantabay sa mga kaganapan ng PBA restart. At the same time, yung pong issue na lumabas dyan po sa koponan ng University of Santo Tomas. Naku, napakalaki ding kontrobersya yan na hanggang ngayon ay pinag-uusap-usapan po. Yan po yung tinatawag naman nilang Sorsogon bubble na nagka-problema naman ang ating mga kasama dyan po sa UST na nagdulot ng pagkakaalis kay CJ Cancino, ang kanilang top forward, at ngayon po ay lumipat na sa University of the Philippines Fighting Maroons. UP na naman, kakakausap ko lang kay Bo Perasol Sabi niya, talagang loaded na sila. Dinagdagan pa ng isang CJ Cancino. Mamaya po, hihimayin natin ang mga kaganapan na yan. Of course, today, inaantabayaran din po natin ang third and final round ng Nitori Ladies Open dyan sa Hokkaido, Japan, kung saan ang ating pambato, si Yuka Saso ay lumalamang po after the second round. That will be a very interesting tournament to watch out for. Hanapin po ninyo sa internet yung website ng JLPGA. Sundan niyo po ang ating pambato na si Yuka Saso. She is one stroke ahead doon po sa kanya mga sumusunod. She is looking for a back-to-back championship. At kung yan po ay matutuloy, maaaring pumasok sa top 100 si Yuka Saso sa World Golf Rankings ng kababaihan. So again, ang kabayanan po natin yan. Alright, at this point, syempre, lagi nating ipapasok muna ang ating pulso ng bayan. Naku, ang dami ng kasi ito, nailagay ko na sa aking Twitter account. Kaya po, ito ang ating pupulsuhan ngayon. Sa dami ng nangyayari, binanggit ko na nga po yung PBA restart. Ang ating pong pupulsuhan ngayon ay ang tungkol sa PBA. Sabi nila, meron daw mga pinagpipilian ngayon ng PBA na mga pagdadausan ng sa kanili nilang bubble. Yung PBA bubble. Yan po ang ilan dyan ay yung Smart Araneta Coliseum, yung pong Inspire Sports Academy sa Calamba, Clark, Dubai, Baguio City at kahit po El Nido, Palawan. Kaya po ang ating pupulsuhan ngayon at na ito nailagay ko na nga sa aking Twitter account, Noli Iyala on Twitter as well as on Instagram. Ito po aling lugar ang dapat piliin para sa PBA bubble? Yung pong tinaguriang PBA bubble. Again, aling lugar ang dapat piliin para sa PBA bubble? Mag-text lamang sa aming hotline 0949-691-4956. Ulitin ko yan 0949-691-4956 o di kaya mag-post sa aming Facebook page Power and Play with Noli Yala o Radyo 5 92.3 News FM. Sa Twitter, ang dami na pong nagsabi. Mamaya babasahin natin lahat yan. Again, yan po ang ating pupulsuhan today. Pero bago yan, syempre, ang ating paboritong segment sa pagpapasimula po ng Power and Play tuwing Sabado ng umaga, ang ating tinatawag na Fast Take. At ang ating magiging bisita today, nako, hard hitters. Mga bigatin po yung ating pong Fast Take ay hard hitters today. Walang iba kundi ang sports writer ng Philippine Star, si Joey Villar, at ang managing editor ng ESPN5, walang iba kundi si Sid Ventura. Good morning, Joey. Good morning, Sid.
Morning, Com.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning. Alam ko, napakaaga. And alam naman natin, lahat tayo nag-aabang sa mga balita. Before we go to Fast Take, ano ba ang inaabangan yung mga balita ngayon sa ESPN5 at saka sa Philippine Star? Unahin ko muna ikaw, Sid.
Com, well, alam mo, marami talagang ganap ngayon sa larangan ng palakasan. Nandiyan yung NBA, in-announce na nga kaninang umaga na magre-resume na yung playoffs. I think bukas dito. May lumabas na statement from NBA and NBPA that the players have agreed to return to the court Saturday night, US time, and Sunday morning our time. So, yan, maasahan natin mga NBA fans na babalik na ang NBA bukas. At syempre, sinasabi niyo yung USD bubble, yan, medyo developing pa rin yan. Oo, at yung isa naman bubble, yung gustong itayo ng PBA. Yan, okay. Medyo inaabangan din natin yan.
Joey, ikaw, ano bang tinututukan mo ngayon?
Lahat tayo naman, it's all about the bubbles. Bubble ng NBA, bubble ng PBA, bubble din ng Sorsogon. So, lahat, ito yung mga may init na issue na inaabangan ngayon. Pero tingin ko, lahat ngayon din nag-aabang dun sa UAP issue. Kaya abangan natin dahil maraming mangyayari this week.
Alright, well, talagang dahil yan ang inaabangan ng lahat, yan din ang ating pag-uusapan ngayong araw na to sa Fast Take. Again, ito pong Fast Take, mga kaibigan, bibigyan natin si Joey at si Sid ng isang minuto para sumagot sa tatlong issue na aming pong inilatag. At again, sabi natin, ito yung mga opinion po nila. Ito mga taong nagbabalita, sila po ang nakakaalam sa likod ng mga sports news, kaya po sila ang ating hihingan ng opinion ngayon. Bato-bato sa langit, tamaan, huwag magagalit, opinion po lamang, at wala pong masisigon. Ito po ang ating unang issue sa Fast Take. Guys, sang-ayon ba kayo sa ginawang boycott ng NBA players sa ilang playoff games doon po sa Orlando, Florida? I'll give you 1 minute. Unahin ko muna ikaw. Joey, go!
Who doesn't? Kasi, and I'm happy that the peaceful protest happened sa NBA na according to our data na 74% ay people na black and 83% ay colored. So, it's the best na platform yung NBA talaga. And it's the goal to take a stand against the ongoing repression or racism in the United States. Then the players succeeded collectively. And that is a good thing actually because it sends a clear message that the world, that the sport is a powerful tool to promote peace and protest peacefully against social injustices in the world. Kaya tingin ko, tama lang yun para matuto ang lahat, pati na yung mga Pinoy din sa atin.
Well said, well said. Talagang napapagising, Ika. So ulitin ko yung ating unang issue, Sid. Sang-ayon ka ba sa ginawang boycott ng NBA players sa ilang playoff games sa kanilang bubble? You have 1 minute, Sid. Go!
Okay. Well, unang-una, I won't even begin to pretend kung ano yung dinadaanan ng mga players, ano. Both as NBA athletes and as African Americans. Hindi natin alam kung ano yung mga nararanasan nila. Una-una sa bubble sila, no? Limited ang movements nila, isolated sila, maraming frustrations na nagbi-build up pag ganon. They're away from their families, doing a job, no? Na pangalawa yun, they've been they have been witnesses to racial injustice for so long sa America. And they've already been protesting even before this. And the whole bubble, yung theme nga nila was Black Lives Matter. Then, yung nangyari kay Jacob Blake was the last straw. That's sa tingin ko, that's what, yung umudyok sa kanila na mag-action para magprotesta. At may bunga naman kasi ngayon, itutuloy na lang yung laro with the promise from NBA owners na they will do something to address all of these issues that are rocking America right now.
That's right. Naglabas na po nga ang NBA at ang NBPA ng statement just this morning na they will be organizing certain social movements para po bigyan ng flesh o ika nga aksyon yung mga hinaing ng mga NBA players. Maraming salamat. Alright, we go to our second fast take this morning. Ang pangalawa nating fast take, kung mapapatunayan ang mga aligasyon tungkol sa umano'y Sorsogon bubble, ano ang dapat maging parusa sa UST? I'll start with you, Sid. You will have 1 minute. Go!
Dalawang layers ito para sa akin eh. First layer, yung violation of IATF protocols for which they're answerable, tingin ko, to the government. No? Kasi yung government yung nag-lay down na yung mga rules eh. Hindi pwedeng bumiyahe ang under 21, hindi pwedeng mga practices na 5-on-5, na close contact, di ba? Maraming ganun. So for that, they're answerable to the government. Pangalawa, yung sa competition level sa UAAP, no? Unfair advantage ba ang ginawa nila? Kasi hindi talaga dapat pwede mag-practice eh. Right now eh. Yung ibang team sumusunod, hindi sila nagpa-practice eh. Gusto ba nilang isahan yung ibang mga teams? So pag ganun concept, context, I don't see any other fit punishment than suspension. Actually, may usap-usapan nga na UST might take a voluntary leave from the UAP if the allegations are found to be true. But yes, I think a suspension would be the correct punishment in this case.
Alright. Well, alam natin, hindi lamang eskwela ang involved dyan. Kasama rin, of course, ang coach at ang mga manlalaro. So, ang magandang tanong dyan talaga, magiging encompassing ba ang parusa ng UAAP at ng pamahalaan? Sid said, okay, Joey, it's your turn sa fast take. Kung mapapatunayan ang mga aligasyon tungkol sa umano'y Sorsogon bubble, ano ang dapat maging parusa sa UST? 1 minuto, Joey. Go!
Itong panahon na to, napaka-unprecedented kasi first time in the history ng buong mundo na nagkaroon ng COVID, na na-stop ang sports. So walang rules ang bawat liga, bawat outfit na about not playing. So for example, if UAP suspends yung UST dahil dahil sa bubble na ginawa nito sa Sorsogon, if proven, pwede nila i-suspend. Kaya lang on what grounds? Ito dahil sa welfare ng athletes na pwedeng gamitin dahil talaga naman na nakasalalay dito ay ang safety ng atleta, ng coaching staff, ng everyone. Pero may tanong din ng UST kung nasa rule ba ito dahil first time din magsususpend ng UAP na wala sa league rules na nag-violate. The last time na meron silang sinuspend, Lasal, they violated the league rule. Kaya ito napakahirap. Pero okay lang kung isuspend, okay lang din kung hindi.
Alright, well, that's a magandang punto din yan. At yan ang ngayon ang iniimbestigahan kung talagang merong grounds para ika nga umaksyon ang UAAP. Kasi meron na ako narinig na parang yun nga ang tinatanong ng mga opisyales ng UAAP. Alright, antabayan na natin ang development dyan. Alright, for our last and final take, gentlemen, ang ating tanong, doable ba ang PBA bubble? Makakatulong kaya ito sa pinaplanong pagbabalik ng season? Joey, 1 minuto. Go!
Tingin ko, basta may pera, may magandang management, kaya naman. Tingin ko, PBA meron lahat nun. Pero ang susi, gaya nga sabi mo, yung parang survey nyo, venue. Hindi pwede sa tingin ko, para sa akin, hindi pwede sa Cubao yan dahil napakaraming tao sa Araneta Center. Dapat yan sa malayong lugar. Yung kaya na sinabi mo, sa Lawag, maganda yung Lawag kasi 0 to close to 0 yung cases. At meron pa ako isa naririnig sa Corregidor kasi balak doon ng mga martial artists sa Corregidor kasi ang Corregidor until now 0 cases sa COVID. So bakit hindi natin dalhin doon? Total bawal naman yung fans eh. So sila-sila lang naman, 'di ba? Tsaka pwede rin yung mga kundiman doon sa isang lugar tulad ng Inspire na ginagamit na ngayon ng Chooks na kalamba, na sarado siya, they can control everyone, hindi pwede lang. Yun ang isang example and I think the PBA can.
Well, magandang take yan Joey, dahil bago yan yung Corregidor na narinig ko. And that is a very interesting input dahil alam naman natin yung Corregidor isla. Kaya mahirap talagang makalusot yan. Kahit siguro yung virus hindi makakalusot. Alright, Sid, your final take, doable ba ang PBA bubble? Makakatulong kaya ito sa pinaplanong pagbabalik ng PBA season? 1 minute, Sid, go!
Well, tingin ko, una-una, the fact na maraming groups na nag-signify na interest na i-host yung bubble, ibig sabihin, tingin nila doable. Hindi naman sila magpe-presenta sa PBA kung sa tingin nila hindi kayang gawin ito eh. Pangalawa, agree ako kay paring Joey, hindi pwede sa mga tipong Cubao ito kasi sobrang daming tao doon eh. Kailangan ng medyo isolated na lugar na mas madaling i-control yung movements ng mga tao. Ngayon, ang dito, gaano kahaba ba yung one conference na gagawin nila? Tingin ko kailangan medyo maikli lang eh. Kasi kung hindi, after 3 or 4 months, mahirapan yung mga players mentally and emotionally na mapahiwalay sa pamilya nila. No, pero kung if the PBA is able to pull this off, and I think naman that they can, malaking malaking milestone nito para sa not only for the PBA but for Philippine sports in general kasi it will provide a blueprint or a pathway for other leagues to follow and will hopefully pave the way for the return of Philippine sports.
Well, Sid, you mentioned very important points sa sinabi mo. Unang-una, it is the length of the format. Very important yan at wala pang nababanggit si Commissioner Willie tungkol dyan. And of course, yung sinasabi mong kahalagahan ng paghahanap ng magandang venue. And it's really going to be key dito sa kanilang magiging decision. Guys, it's always interesting to hear your takes. And alam nyo kayong dalawa, lagi ko sinusundan dahil talagang gusto ko mauna sa balita eh. Kayo na uuna sa balita eh. Kaya thank you so much for all the information that you've given us both on your organizations and of course on Twitter and social media. Sid Ventura.
It's a pleasure, Con.
Maraming salamat.
Thanks for having me.
Good morning. Maraming salamat. Yan po mga kaibigan, ating mga kaibigan from the media, si Joey Villar ng Philippine Star at si Sid Ventura ng ESPN5. Wow, very important takes today sa Fast Take. At marami pa po tayong pag-uusapan tungkol dyan. Hindi pa po nagtatapos yung issue ng mga bubble, pearly bubble, kahit anong bubble yan. Pag-uusapan natin ngayong araw pong ito. Kamusta natin nga pala, binabati natin ng isang belated happy birthday si Randy Reyes and Tere Reyes mag-asawa yan na parehong birthday. Belated happy birthday, guys. And of course, ang aking kumpare si Edwin Rodriguez, belated happy birthday also. And to ito hindi ko nabati kasi na matagal eh. Si Raf Iyala, ha? Malapit na maging doktor yan. belated happy birthday, Raf. Alright, at this point, mga kaibigan, tuloy-tuloy po tayo sa Power and Play. Alam niyo po, nagkaroon tayo ng pagkakataon nung isang linggo na kamustahin ang ating laging binabantayan na si Kai Sotto. Tayo po'y naimbitahan ng East West Private sa isang media availability kasama po ng iba pang mga taga-media. At nagkaroon tayo ng pagkakataong malaman kung ano po ang nangyayari ngayon kay Kai Sotto na sa kasalukuyan ay naghahanda na po maglaro doon sa G League, yung NBA G League, kasama ng G League Select Team. At ngayon po ipapasok natin ang ating naging panayam, tidbits po, snippets ng ating panayam kay Kai Sotto sa ating Bantay Kai Kamustahan with Kai Sotto. Medyo yung audio lang ha, medyo nagkakaproblema tayo. Let's see if we can clean that up. Ayusin lang natin sa ating producer. Gab, alright, yung mga maaga pong pumasok sa ating pong feed, sa ating live stream, kinakamusta po natin si Ruth Geronimo. Magandang umaga po sa inyo, ma'am. Si Solo Basag, Arvin J. Biaga, si Alex Fuentes, ang ating suki mula sa Bacolod City. Sino paring Noel? Baring, magandang umaga pare. More power. Bruno Tumpag, Sir Noli, watching from Maasim City. Uy, ang malayo din na to ha. Maasim Leyte, kamusta po kayo dyan? Sana ay maayos ang inyong kalagayan at walang mga kaso po ng COVID. Shout out sa Congressman Roger Mercado, who is also watching now on 1PH. Magandang umaga po, Kong Roger. Kilala ko po si Kong Roger. Nagkasama kami minsan sa isang car wash eh. Naabutan ko pa yan si Kong. Magandang umaga po, Kong. Si Hular Vilma Lastimoso. Babati po sa aking asawa Edwin Ibanez Hular. Nasa bundok po siya. Aba, ngayon po nakikinig siya sa 92.3. Talagang umaabot ang 92.3 kahit sa anong sulok ng Pilipinas. Kaya po antabay lang tayo ha. Alright, I think ready na tayo. Balikan natin po ang ating interview with Kai Sotto.
Do you have any concerns about the rising cases of the pandemic in the U.S. And with the G League start? Are you at all concerned?
Of course, because COVID is it's not a joke. But during our Zoom meetings with the NBA G League and with all the staff, they always made sure that we will be safe and that we will be taken care of in the place that we'll be in. That's in Oakland, and so that's why it's a good thing for me to be in.
All right. Before I go to the meatier questions, what is a typical day for you now as you prepare for the G League? What time do you wake up? What do you do at the start of your day? And basically, what goes on after practices?
I wake up at around 7:20 and then leave at around 8 for a 45-50-minute drive to Griffin Elite. I have a workout at 9 a.m., an hour and a half workout, and then go home, eat lunch, take a nap, and then leave at around 4 p.m. for a 5 p.m. workout. Another 1 or 1.5 hour of training, and then get back home, eat dinner, and rest. Here I train twice a day basketball, and minsan sinisingitan ng, actually every day sinisingitan ng weights, and Coach Larry calls it Stairmaster. It's like a conditioning part for me. It's like stairs na parang machine. So I do it every time, like 10 minutes every day. So if I say twice a day, but if you count like all the things that we do, it can be like 3 or 4 times a day. So Coach Larry, Coach Jordan, they really push me every time I step on the court, I step on the gym, and I'm just really happy and blessed to be one of their players that they train. Oh, Saturdays I do yoga every morning with my family and with Cholo and Sage, and mostly hang out with my family and with my friends.
And I guess Sundays are off, and you take your rest on Sundays.
Yeah.
Kai, let me ask you. Coach Brian Shaw has compared you to Nikola Jokic. Do you think that the comparison is fair and accurate, and your reaction to the comparison?
I think it's a big thing for me to be compared to Nikola Jokic because we all know how great a player he is, but there's still a lot of things that I need to learn to be as good as him. So that's like my goal, not to be exactly like Nikola Jokic, but not exactly to be like Nikola Jokic, but to be as good as him. If that makes sense.
Right now, as you prepare for the start of the G League, can you rate yourself from 1 to 10, 10 being the highest, in terms of your ball handling, your post defense?
Alright mga kaibigan, nagbabalik po ang inyong paboritong Power and Play hatid sa inyo ng Big Boss Cement at ng Cherry Loom. Balikan po natin ang ating interview with basketball phenom Kai Sotto.
I think it's a good 8. My dad always knew that I'm gonna be this tall, so he didn't start training me as like a guard because growing up in the Philippines, I was always the tallest one. So every coach has to teach me how to be a big guy. And then I think my dad was one of the few trainers or coaches that I had that taught me ball handling. But as soon as I got here, almost like every trainer that I had, taught me how to get better in ball handling, and that's been working me. That's been like working a lot for me. Post defense and shooting, and what you said, ball handling
And conditioning.
and conditioning. Yeah.
Why do you say you're a little you're above average now, and you're just a few more ranks away from really being at the top of your game? What makes you say that, Kai?
It's because I really like push myself every day, and that's when I know my limits. And I've had days that I've had days that I really pushed myself and I got really tired and exhausted. So that's when I knew that I have to do more. I have to like expand my own limits to improve and to be better. And I think I believe that I still have a lot of room to grow and to be a better basketball player.
Jalen Green came out. There was an article that was written calling out his teammates to be ready, quote unquote. Do you find that, first of all, as motivation or more pressure? How do you react to his calling out his teammates in the G League Select team?
I mean, I think if he said that we have to be ready, I believe that we everybody should be, the 5 of us, the 6 of us. And I think being the first one that got picked from the G League, I think it's a good way for him to be a leader this early. And, that's what I'm trying to do. And I think I'm ready.
Kai, you now have an international brand. I mean, you are now becoming very popular internationally. And that brand will continue to grow as you work in the G League and hopefully in the NBA. How do you envision promoting your international brand and helping your country in terms of social issues? Just like how the NBA players are now speaking up on social reforms and social justice issues.
First, for me, I just have to study very well the type of issue that's going to be, talked about. And for me, while you saying my brand, I just want to be an example or be a leader to a lot of people, especially Filipinos, that will follow my path. And I just have to focus on myself to be a great player first, and then share what I can afford sharing to other people. And I think I've inspired some people, and that's been my dream, to be not just to be a leader, but to be the one that can help other people strive for their dreams and think that nothing is impossible.
Sabi nila, libre naman ang mangarap. So, it's free to dream. So, in 5 years' time, conceivably, that's after 4 years of college, a year after you do the G League. In 5 years' time, specifically, where do you see yourself at? Which team do you think you'll be playing for in your dreams? I mean, specifically, it'll be nice to hear that from you.
I imagine myself being part of a great organization, great team, and I envision myself to be an all-star, and I would do everything I can to be an all-star and to prove that I am a great player and to represent Asia. And 5 years from now, I wanna be the best in Asia also. You know, being a Filipino and represent the Philippines. That's 5 years from now. I think that's the dream I have. Ever since I started playing basketball, if you watch all my interviews, that's always my first answer, to be an NBA player. And you know, every day I always wake up and always see people messaging me that you know, good luck, Kai. We're supporting you. Good luck on your NBA dream. And you know, today I just think of it as you know, a dream of a lot of people, and that's just a lot of that's just a huge thing for a basketball player to have. And I'm just focused on myself, my improvement, you know, every single day, and just trying my best to be where I want to be in the future.
Alright mga kaibigan, yan po ang ating naging panayam kay Kai Sotto dun sa kanyang media availability. Alam natin na si Kai Sotto ay patuloy pong naghahanda para sa kanyang unang paglalaro bilang NBA G-Leaguer. Tayo po ay patuloy na nagdarasal sa kanyang matagumpay na career sa Estados Unidos, and of course, hopefully, makabalik siya dito para makatulong sa ating Gilas, Pilipinas. Mabuhay ka, Kai! Sa ating Bantay Kai, si Kai Sotto, kamustahan po yan. Alright, bago tayo magpatuloy, mamaya po makakapanayam natin, perhaps one of the most, if not the most popular tandem in basketball. Ronnie Magsanoc at Benjie Paras po ang ating makakausap mamaya sa ating second hour. Makakamusta rin po natin ang isang player na gumawa ng malaking balita nung siya ay nasa New Zealand. Siya po ay naglalaro sa FEU Tamaraws, pero naglaro din siya dun sa isang professional league sa New Zealand, yung National Basketball League, yung Phil Kiwi na si Ken Tuffin. Mamaya po yan sa ating second hour, so abangan nyo po yan dito sa Power and Play. Alright, sabi nga natin, ang dami-dami pong issues ngayon na nangyayari sa mundo ng palakasan, and who better to dissect this than the man who has always been, you know, around the issues of sports. At of course, matalik nating kaibigan, makakasama po natin ngayon, walang iba kundi the Dean, Quinito Henson, at isa pang batikang sports journalist, ang aking kaibigang si Anthony Suntay ng DWIC. Good morning! Hello!
Kumusta? Kumusta? Noli.
Mukhang nasa labas ka, mukhang nag-exercise ka.
Sorry?
Mukhang nag-exercise ka, Quinito, nasa labas ka.
Yes, nasa labas kami dito, nasa Batangas. Meron kami ng photoshoot eh. Kasi
Wow.
it's the first birthday ng aking apo.
Wow, how nice! Happy birthday to your apo, and of course to your daughter and your son-in-law, at of course
Yes, si Christina, kasama namin dito, at saka si Mark, ang kanyang asawa, at yung dalawang apo namin. But one of them, si Luis, is turning 1 today.
Wow, happy birthday! It's good to see you, my man. Walang golf ngayon, but you're very busy with your sports show. It's really nice to see you all the time.
Well, good morning, Comed. Good morning, Quinito. It's nice to be here. You know, magsama-sama ulit tayong tatlo, and we're gonna have a good morning.
Yes, alam mo, bagamat magandang makausap kayo, pero yung mga pag-uusapan natin medyo nakakalungkot, no? Although nakakagimbal ng mundo ng sports. And I'll begin with the NBA. I want to talk about the NBA and what has happened in the NBA in the last 24 to 48 hours, gentlemen. Alam naman natin na they are in Orlando. They are playing in a bubble, but all of a sudden that bubble had a crack. Ika nga, medyo nayanig ng konti yung kanilang paglalaro sa playoffs ng NBA. Quinito, how close was the NBA to the brink of collapse or a shutdown? And can you walk us through a little bit about ano bang kaganapan, what brought us to this tumultuous time sa NBA?
Well, there was a major threat na hindi matuloy ang playoffs, no? But it's very difficult to comment for on this situation being so far away from the US. So hindi masyado natin nararamdaman yung mga nararamdaman ng mga players, especially when it comes to social issues. We all know that 80% of the NBA players are black, and there is general feeling that the black players need to make a stand. Kaya nga si Commissioner Adam Silver, bago pa nagsumula itong bubble sa Lake Buena Vista sa Orlando, he felt that it was important to allow the players to use the NBA as a platform to express their sentiments concerning a lot of social issues, burning social issues. So, ako naman ang feeling ko, unang-una, hindi yata maganda yung nangyari because the Milwaukee Bucks did not inform the league that they were planning not to play that playoff game against the Orlando Magic. Orlando, the players were already on the floor. The referees on the floor, everything was arranged for the game to go on, while the Milwaukee Bucks decided on their own sa kanilang locker room na hindi sila maglalaro. Of course, nagkaroon ng cascade effect yan. Tuloy, hindi na-postpone yung ibang mga games scheduled natin. I just feel that while the players need to express their sentiments on burning social issues, they also have an obligation not only to the league and to the franchise where they belong, but also to the fans. And kung nangyari yan sa PBA, I think that would be tantamount to a walkout of a game. And that's a 10 million peso fine if you're playing the PBA.
Well, alam natin, it's a very delicate balancing situation for the NBA and the NBA players. Kaya naman maraming nagtatanong kung ito ba ay healthy for the league and what has happened. But right now, the NBA and the NBPA, Anthony, have come out with a statement and they have agreed to restart the league once again tomorrow. In fact, they have come out with commitments also na sinasabi nila that they will immediately establish a social justice coalition, among others, plus of course yung mga movement nung kanilang sa election nila na marami silang gagawin, pati mga arenas nila will be transformed into voting centers, as well as other possible commitments from the owners to make those social issues kumbaga given more action, hindi lamang rhetoric. So let me ask you, Anthony, what do you think, who do you think won in this boycott? Were there any winners? Meron bang natalo? What do you think is the effect of this boycott sa NBA as a whole?
Well, Noli, first of all, I agree exactly with what Quinito said a while ago. Sabi nga niya na, dapat naman nag-usap-usap yung mga players, nag-usap-usap sana yung mga teams to begin with. But at the end of the day, going back to your question, I think there's really no winners, there's really no losers here more than anything else. Pero ang pinaka-importante dito is at least they've seen eye to eye already. And at the same time, nakikita natin now they want to be able to get back into the court. Because naiintindihan naman natin yung plight ng mga black players sa NBA. Because obviously, there is a lot of social injustice going on in the United States. So they wanted to be able to use that platform to be able to get their message out. Pero sana intindihin din ng mga players na if you stop playing, you will lose that platform. And so what happens is, paano nila may lalabas yung gusto nila ilabas, di ba? Now, they've made a statement, they've made the entire basketball-loving world stop. Dahil 2 araw nga nag-stop yung playoffs, actually 3, kung tutusin mo, kung i-count mo itong araw na to. So, walang NBA games for the past 3 days. And so I think that they've made their statement. Now they've got to move on because they just don't have a commitment to being, advocates of social justice. But at the same time, they have to realize, number one, they have responsibilities to their owners. Binabayaran sila ng sweldo. Secondly, biro mo, isipin mo, Adam Silver did everything he possibly could to be able to give them this platform. May Black Lives Matter doon support. At the same time, he allowed them to put those names, those approved names sa likod ng kanilang mga uniforms to be able to push yung mga reforms na gusto nila. Tapos all of a sudden, after all that he's done, setting up this bubble, bigla hindi ka na lang maglalaro. parang binastos mo rin si Adam Silver. So, let's not put to waste everything that the NBA has put together for these players, given them the platform. Yes, you've now made a statement. People are now listening a little bit more than anything else. But at the same time, alam mo, kung tutusin nyo, gentlemen, you and I want social justice to happen. But, even if they don't go back to the court, if they decided like what they initially did, sabi nila, first of all, they were very emotional, obviously, because they were in the bubble. Sabi nga ng mga tao, parang may cabin fever na siguro sila. So a little bit of push here, a little bit of push there, medyo nagwawala na sila kaagad eh. So, I think they've been able to already get a hold of their emotions, and now I think they're doing the right thing, which is moving on and playing the game of basketball.
Quinito, let me ask you, because obviously the NBA Players Association has a powerful voice in in league matters, in a lot of things going on in the NBA. Should the owners of the NBA be concerned? And a follow-up question to that, do you think that that is something na dapat tularan dito sa PBA, putting it in local context na ang ating mga players magkaroon din ng boses, hindi lamang tungkol sa liga, kundi sa mga social issues na nangyayari sa ating bansa?
Well, unang-una, as far as politics is concerned, I've always been an advocate that sports should be separated from politics. You don't want politics to put sports in a situation where people will have to take sides. Ayoko yun. Sports is sports, and there are values that people learn from playing sports and from watching sports. So I really wouldn't like to see politics get involved in sports. In answer to your question about the PBA being a platform to express social issues, very difficult. Again, you have to put it in the context of where you are. Sa US, iba yung patakaran doon eh. Iba yung palakad ng at saka yung utak ng mga tao doon. Tayo rito, ganun din. If you turn the PBA into a platform where some people will be anti-government, some people will be pro-government, I don't think that's healthy. I don't think you'll want to see some players saying that they're pro-Duterte and some players saying that they're anti-Duterte. It's all right if you're going to look at issues. I think everyone is for justice. Everyone is for peace. Maybe the PBA can vet out all of these issues that the players may want to bring out. So long as it's not anti-government, it's not personality-based, why not? As far as the NBA's Players Association being a very influential and strong force, well, I think it should be. I think it really should be. I think the players' voice has to be heard, and the NBA has to be aware of that. And the responsibility on Commissioner Adam Silver, as well as the NBA Labor Relations Committee Chairman Michael Jordan, is to just make sure that the league moves forward together. Unity is so important in any sphere of the world. Whether you're talking about social issues or whether you're talking about social injustice, I think people need to be united, especially in a league like the NBA, where the Players Association has shown that it has tremendous clout. But I think dapat magkasama-sama sila just to make sure that something like this shouldn't happen again. Hindi pwede yung abrupt na bigla-bigla mawawala yung games because one side of the equation decided not to play games. I think it's important that there has to be understanding, there has to be unanimity, and there has to be an agreement for all parties concerned.
All right, before I leave this to you, Anthony, again, once upon a time, they had a players association. I know that politics is different from social reforms. I agree with Quinito, kung politika yan, dapat hindi. But again, when it comes to, I guess, social issues, and players are already talking about it now. In fact, a lot of the Phil-Ams have taken or have united and spoken out on the Black Lives Matter issues. Do you think that the players in the Philippines, the local players, has enough maturity to come up with this kind of powerful voice sa PBA?
I think so. Going back to what Quinito said, to echo what he said, let's leave politics out. But at the same time, yung social issues na ganito, kailangan talaga rin natin i-tackle. And at the same time, I think a lot of the Phil-Am players, obviously growing up in the United States, iba din yung kanilang background. Balikan natin yung sinabi ni Quinito, it really depends on how you were able to be raised, the environment that you were in. And nakikita natin, obviously, a lot of the Phil-Am players grew up with a lot of the social injustice there. Kaya talaga sila, ramdam na ramdam nila. Lahat ng mga sinasabi ng mga NBA players ngayon, talagang ramdam na ramdam ng mga Phil-Am players natin because they themselves, growing up, were able to go through this. And nakikita nila, they have friends that have died, they have friends that have been injured. And so, for them, it really hits close to home, kumbaga. So I think if you ask me that question, yes, they do have the maturity. Kita naman natin, we've been able to have a chance to chat with all of them. And, they know that they are in a good position to be able to push these reforms. And as long as it's done properly, I think pwede naman, Quinito.
All right. Okay. Let's go. Let's move to another issue now, guys. Yung issue ng isa pang kontrobersya. Ito yung Sorsogon bubble, yung tinatawag nilang
Bubble.
And alam natin ang background dyan, and just for yung mga nakikinig sa atin, nanonood na medyo hindi pa masyadong nakakaalam, ito po yung naglaro o nagpa-practice daw ang mga taga UST Growling Tigers doon po sa Kapoy, Sorsogon, na isang tinatawag nilang bubble na itinayo ng kanilang koponan. At dahil po may isang manlalaro sa pangalang CJ Cancino na biglang gustong umuwi at nagkaroon ng problema at siya po ay napasibat doon sa kanyang koponan, pumutok po itong isyong ito. Now, Quinito, there is now an investigation na gagawin ng IATF, Joint Task Force with the PSC, with the UAAP, with the Games and Amusement Board, including the CHED, for that matter. What do you think are the key questions that must be asked during this investigation?
Coach, or the people responsible for creating this bubble, did they ask permission from the IATF? Because more than the school, there is a national interest involved. Ang IATF ay nagbibigay ng guidelines sa atin lahat for us to be safe, for us to be healthy, because itong pandemya, hindi biro to. We need to be united as a people to make sure that we are protecting each other. So, I think that's the first question. Yung ginawa ba nila labag sa batas? Ang sagot yan, yes. Pangalawa, who is accountable? Kung it is proved that yung bubble na yung ginawa at yung pagdadala ng mga players sa Sorsogon ay labag sa batas, then you need to find out who were the people responsible for this transgression. And number 3, after finding out kung sino yung mga accountable, what are the sanctions? Because hindi naman po pwedeng let's just forget about this and move forward. There is a violation. I think the government is very clear that kung sino mang ang gumagawa ng action or gestures that are against the law, they have to pay for it. And if it is proved that whoever is responsible for doing this absolutely bad thing, violation of the law, then that person has to be accountable. Whether it's Coach Alvin Ayo, whether it's the athletic director of UST, whoever is involved, whoever is accountable, they have to be answerable, not just to the school, not just to the UAP, but to the national government, sa mamamayang Pilipino. Dapat paliwanag nila kung anong ginawa nila, and if it is proved na mali yung ginawa nila, then they have to face the music. Ganun lang ang pagkasabi ko.
All right. Well, may nakausap akong tiga UAP and you requested activity. And well, so far, what they're saying is this is a violation of an IATF rule. Sabi niya, hindi naman daw to UAAP rule. So therefore, ang UAAP daw is not the right body to sanction. So Anthony, do you agree with this position, which is unofficial? I'm not saying that this is the official position of the UAAP, but do you agree that this is a national rule at ang UAP has no power to sanction yung sinasabi ni Quinito na may lumabag sa batas? Anthony?
Well, first and foremost, I agree totally with what Quinito said. Now, going directly to your question, obviously, the UAP has to be involved because it's a member school. So they have to be able to police also their ranks. Now, UST being a member school, kailangan naman talaga malaman kung ano yung mga ginagawa nila. They do that all throughout the year. They go through players to find out kung talagang eligible sila para sa season na yon. They take a look at the grades to be able to make sure kung pwede talaga itong mga players ito maglaro sa darating na season. So the UAAP does that. They do police their own ranks, and I think they should be able to in this particular case as well, dahil alam mo malaking bagay ito eh. And then, even going to what Quinito said, I think that's gotta go all the way to the top, Quinito, because you just can't talk about the coach. You just can't talk about athletic director. I mean, heads, I think, really have to roll here, and people really have to be able to take responsibility for what has happened, because ibang klase ito eh. You've actually endangered a lot of these young student athletes, and remember, more than anything else, they're students. So you have to be able to make sure na inaalagaan mo yung mga batang to na binigay sa inyo ng mga kanilang mga magulang. And so what happens? All of a sudden, you just send them to Sorsogon without you even finding out where they are. I don't buy that story. So, the school has to be accountable for it. And I think also the UAAP has to be able to put their foot down and come up with some sanctions of their own as well.
Alam mo, meron ng PBA president, Quinito. You know that nag-practice sila Isaac Go and even Adrian Wong. And the PBA actually sanctioned both players. Adrian Wong, ang biro-biro nga is hindi pa siya naglalaro sa PBA, may fine na siya. No, so there is a precedent that can be followed by the UAAP for that matter. And therefore, I don't see why maghuhugas kamay sila dito dahil obviously the UST is under their purview and their jurisdiction. Quinito, do you agree?
I think there should be a series of sanctions, no? Tama yung sinabi mo, Noli, no? Because nung naglaro nga sina Isaac Go, of course, wala pa siya sa PBA, but he was severely reprimanded. But those players that fell under the GAB supervision, because being pro athletes, GAB chairman Baha Mitra, na nakausap natin palagi, sinabi niya that he will let the PBA handle the sanctions. Obviously, the GAB could have also made its own sanctions, but it felt that it was under the purview of the PBA because hindi namang masyadong laganap, hindi namang masyadong massive itong violation. So the PBA did its part in making sure that there were sanctions. But itong nangyari sa Sorsogon, this is major because it involved an institution, a school. It involved the entire team. So hindi lang ilang player ito, no? And there was really a predetermined, a premeditated plan to get all these boys out of Metro Manila and into another zone, another quarantine zone, as in Sorsogon. Bagamat ang Sorsogon is under MGCQ and Metro Manila is not under MGCQ at the moment, still, no, you have to respect kung ano yung sinasabi ng IATF. I think the UAAP should slap sanctions on UAAP, should slap sanctions on the people accountable, whether it's the coach or whether whoever, that they should be suspended. I think the school has to be suspended because hindi pa pwedeng sasabihin ng school, hindi namin alam ito, because we have now seen forms that actually went through the school athletic director, which means that person represented the school. So, dapat managot dito yung team officials, yung school officials, and they have to be sanctioned by the UAP. Beyond the UAP, dapat pumasok dito ng IATF. Maybe with a recommendation of the CHED. But the IATF has to also slap some severe sanctions. And I'm thinking that the school, and I'm going off the tangent here, should be slapped at least a 1-year suspension from the UAP. And if the coach is accountable for what he has done to the players, I feel that the coach has to be suspended at least 3 years.
Well, alam mo, I totally agree. I don't believe UST is without knowledge. Unang-una. Pangalawa, I don't think the players were voluntary. Kasi kung voluntary at gusto umalis si CJ Cancino, bakit nila pinayagan? Voluntary nga eh, di ba? Why did you take them out? And lastly, I don't think the school should be left off the hook here. But again, the investigation is going on. We don't know what UST has come out with, and we will certainly await that. It's too early to prejudge what's going on, but certainly all eyes will be on this issue. Before I let you go, gentlemen, and Anthony, let me start with you. Alam natin yung PBA is also trying its own bubble to restart. Your ideas of how the PBA, ano sa tingin mo is the best area for the PBA to do a bubble, Anthony? Given the rising cases in our country of the coronavirus?
Alam mo, Kume, when you take a look at the NBA bubble, ang ganda ng ginawa nila because obviously in the ESPN Wild World of Sports, ang ganda ng kanilang facility doon. They have what? They have 10 football courts, 10 football fields, they have 10 baseball fields, and they have about 20 basketball courts in that one area alone, surrounded by hotels. So now, it brings the question na, financially, I think wala namang problema. Kakayanin ng PBA magkaroon ng sarili nilang bubble. Ang problema lang is logistically, I cannot think of an area that they can actually go to wherein they will have that kind of a facility. We can actually, the only thing on the top of my head probably is, you know, dun sa Pampanga, kung saan nila ginawa yung SEA Games, because, you know, it's a sports facility. There are places for the players to stay in. Or people are talking about, let's say, the Araneta Coliseum because may mga hotels around the area. But still, it's not going to be a complete bubble kung tutusin mo because there is only 1 or 2 hotels there. And then, kung tutusin mo, at the end of the day, there is only 1 basketball court, which is at the Smart Araneta Coliseum. And so, when you have 12 teams sharing just 1 court, mahihirapan ka talaga doon. There might be some courts here and there, maybe about 2-3 kilometers away from the area, but still, I don't know if they're PBA standards, and at the same time, if it's up to the standards of the Pro League. And at the same time, we have to be able to make sure, katulad ng ginawa ng NBA, pag pumasok ko din sa Orlando bubble, hindi ka na talaga pwede lumabas. Now, people will still be able to be going out on their own every now and then. You cannot be able to police them in any particular area here in the Philippines. I just can't see a particular area.
Quinito, you know, alam natin na ini-implement ni Commissioner Willie yung closed circuit system, bahay, practice, bahay. But now, they're looking at the bubble. Do you think that is a safer protocol rather than yung closed circuit system? And secondly, do you think tatanggapin ng mga players that they stay in a bubble away from their families and of course without any fans na nanonood sa kanila?
Governors ng PBA and the commissioner decide. What you like about the PBA situation is that there is forward movement involving everybody. There is unity. I think there is complete trust and confidence in the PBA board and the commissioner as far as the players are concerned. I remember initially when the PBA broached the idea of practice, there were some players who were saying, sandali, wag tayong biglang magpa-practice because baka may mangyari sa atin, sa mga pamilya natin. All it took was for the commissioner to reach out to the players, have a dialogue, and then everything was fine. An expedition was made, and the commissioner said that there were safety measures that were to be implemented. So everyone bought into that situation. Now, because of the pandemic, we're living day to day. We don't know what's going to happen next month. We don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. But what I do know is that the PBA is already making plans for a bubble, wherever that is. Whatever. Hindi pa natin alam. I just have complete trust and confidence that when the time comes that the decision will be made to restart the season, I think the players will be consulted. The PBA board will not just decide on its own. There will be massive consultations and for the league to move forward. Now, as far as the practice is concerned, maganda nangyayari. I think all the teams are abiding. Kausap ko si Coach Louie Alas ng Phoenix just yesterday. At sabi niya sa akin, yung kanilang practice is just in the morning. They have 3 sessions sa upper deck, MWF, and then TTH, meron silang Zoom sessions for workouts. And on Saturday, they have video classes on offense and defense. So, you know, every team has its own formula to prepare for the upcoming season. Everyone's excited to get back into action because nakita natin the NBA is doing it. They're back in action. The players are playing, and everybody wants that to happen. But at the same time, we've got to make sure that the health standards are really sky high. Sabi nga ni Commissioner Willie, no, he wants the health protocols to be hospital standard. That's how the sanitation must be. In every playing facility, hospital standard. At dapat gamitin nila ang gawin to make sure that everyone is healthy and safe. And it's happening right now in the practices. And I've been monitoring how the different teams have been going along their practices. It's been great. It's been good. Everybody's excited to be back on the court, even if they're not playing. They're just working out in small batches. But, you know, step by step, day to day, when the government says that we can begin practicing more than just 5 at a time. Maybe we go up to 10 at a time under MGCQ. And then later on, we might be open up the gates to playing games with an audience maybe limited to, I don't know, 30% capacity, or maybe even no audience, just so long as the games go on with the utmost protection and welfare of the players safeguarded.
Well, well said. At ako ay talagang ikisama sa PBA na sana nga mabigyan natin ng kasiyahan ng ating mga mamamayan. Quinito, stay safe in Batangas. And again, happy birthday to your grandchild. And Anthony, I hope to see you very soon again. Maraming salamat sa oras ninyong dalawa.
Take care. Have a good day. Have a good long weekend.
Maraming salamat. Yan po mga kaibigan, ang batikang sports journalist Quinito Henson, and of course, ang batikang commentator Anthony Suntay. Naku, ang daming nabanggit at talaga naman pong tama lahat ng kanilang mga sinabi. Ako, sa akin, I'm really hoping na matapos na itong mga isyong ito para po malinaw na ang para sa mga players kung ano ang dapat mangyari. Sila ang pinaka-biktima dito kawawa ang mga players. All right, at this point, gusto po natin magpasalamat sa lahat ng ating mga tagapagtaguyod ng Power and Play. Marami po salamat sa Big Boss Cement, Big Boss sa tatag, Big Boss sa tibay. Nandito na ang Big Boss Cement, di basta matitibag, approved sa kalikasan at sobrang abot kaya. Marami po salamat sa Chief Company Innovator and President Engineer Gilbert Cruz. Big Boss Cement, Big Boss sa tatag, Big Boss sa tibay. Marami din po salamat sa Cherry Loom, ang yerong may aluminum. Basta kailangan nyo po ng gamit sa inyong bahay, tandaan nyo po, Cherry Loom, ang yerong may aluminum. Kami po nagpapasalamat kay paring Elmer Ngo at ang kanyang buong staff. Cherry Loom, available in all leading hardware stores in the country. Marami din po salamat sa Elms Resto Bar and Group. Ang Elms po ay matatagpuan sa iba't ibang lugar katulad ng Calle Bistro, Ever Commonwealth, Robinson's Novaliches, dyan po sa Brixton Street sa Pasig, and of course sa Makati sa Poblacion. Ang Elms po ay ang home of fried itik. Meron silang free delivery at yan po ang kanilang mga numero. Payment only through GCash and BDO. Again, Elms Capian Resto Bar Group. Marami din po salamat mga kaibigan sa mga kasama natin sa Joyride, ang inyong bagong kasundo. Joyride is wherever you are, whatever you need, we can deliver, and we'll do it for as low as 49 pesos. So book all your delivery and pabili needs now via Joyride, ang inyong kasundo sa pagtulong. Make sure you download the latest Joyride and Happy Move application. Marami din po salamat, of course, sa Makalaj Professional, MP School of Makeup Artistry, ang ating official hair and makeup. Thank you also mga kaibigan sa Skin, Your Face and Body Anti-Aging Center. Ang Skin po ay matatagpuan sa Wilson Street sa San Juan, and of course sa Alabang Town Center. Kung kayo may mga concerns about your skin, meron po silang online consultation. Yan po kanilang number, 0917-890-1640. Marami pong salamat kay Doktora G. Sarmiento and of course kay Doc Richie Sarmiento. Maraming salamat po sa lahat ng ating sponsors sa Power and Play. At this time, basahin na natin ang ating mga nagpasok ng kanilang pulso. Yung pong sumali sa ating Pulso ng Bayan, ito po yung mga maagang nagbigay sa ating Twitter account. Sabi ni Nino Cruz doon sa ating tanong sa Pulso ng Bayan na aling bang lugar ang dapat napaliin para sa PBA bubble. Sabi ni Nino Cruz, Subic daw. Subic. Alright. Si Paul Reyes naman, it should be in Baguio, Kume. Sabi niya, okay din ang Baguio. Ang problema lang doon, hindi natin alam kung papayagan ni Mayor. Kasi very strict si Mayor sa mga protocol dyan sa Baguio. Mula naman kay Peter Manalile, Sorsogon, nagbibiro daw. Pero tingin ko Iloilo. Never been there but I believe the city is greatly managed, sabi ni Paul Manalile. Mula naman kay @Gina_Maggie sa Bacoor, Cavite, ang kanyang boto. Mula naman kay Sherwin de la Vega, Kume, magpa-survey ka muna kung ilang players ang willing pumasok sa bubble. Siyempre, kailangan din malaman ng PBA yan kung talagang ika nga may mga gusto maglaro o may hesitancy. Of course, sabi rin po ni Mark S. Subic din. Maraming boto ang Subic ha. Maganda naman lugar talaga yan eh. Although alam ko Subic, meron lang silang isang basketball court. I don't know kung meron pang additional, although the hotel facilities are excellent. And of course, muna kay Randy Ibasco, should be in a hotel with indoor floor basketball court. It is Shangri-La Fort. Aba? Mas social naman yung fort. Sabi nga ni Chairman Ricky Vargas hindi nila kaya yung financials, masyado daw mabigat. And of course, yung testing pa dyan, no? So, ang dami pong nagkomentaryo, ha? Sila Michael Vinluan, si Jet Sanchez, Ronnie Pagdilaw, Kuya Mo, sabi niya sa Ateneo Loyola Campus, kaya sa Lasal Green Hills. Good points. Si Willie, si Coach Willie Chan, sabi rin niya, Shangri-La the Fort. Si Mark Alday, this is tricky com. The venue must accommodate all teams. They need more than one basketball court for the teams, and there must be regular testing and supervision. Siyempre, importante ang mga health protocols. Ang dami pa pong nagbibigay ng kanilang opinion. Si Tens LA, siguro maganda yan sa Iglesia ni Cristo Gym, pero medyo malapit but secured. Televised lang. Well, wala naman talagang fans ito. So, makikita natin kung ano mangyayari dyan sa PBA bubble na yan. Antabayanan po natin lahat yan sa mga susunod na araw. Alright, at this point mga kaibigan, ipapasok ko na ang ating naging panayam sa ating tinututukan na player ng FEU Tamaraws. At ngayon siya po ay naglalaro naglaro siya doon sa New Zealand Basketball League o yung National Basketball League. Yan po ay ang Taranaki Mountaineers. At yan po ang ating pong makakapanayam ngayon ay ang Phil Kiwi basketball player, si Ken Tuffin. And today we will be having one of the guys, the celebrities, the personalities in sports that has been frequently mentioned lately in the news. And he's been making waves down under. No other than Ken Tuffin. Good day, Ken. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Well, everything's all good here.
Yeah, are you already in your off season?
Yeah, so we finished the season a couple of weeks ago, and I'm just enjoying the downtime at the moment after a grueling 6-week long season.
Yeah. Well, you had a very successful stint with your team, the Mountaineers, and you've made a lot of news, not only there but also back here, and it's good to have you. Before I get into the meat of things, I just wanted to get your background. You were born in New Zealand, but you have your mother comes from Rosario, La Union. Can you give us a bit of your family background? How many siblings do you have? Yep. And what does your mother do actually in New Zealand?
Yep. So I have a younger brother. There's just two of us, two children, and my mother is an accountant here in New Zealand.
Terrific. And can you tell us a little bit about how your mom met your dad?
Oh, they actually met working together. My dad was a supervisor, and when my mom was new in New Zealand, they met that way at work a long time ago.
Okay. And you grew up in which part of New Zealand?
Wellington, New Zealand, the capital city.
You've been an athlete for most of your life. You play basketball, obviously, but you also play cricket. You play rugby. Were these your first love in terms of the sport, or was it really basketball?
Definitely. Growing up in New Zealand, rugby is a really big sport here. It was great to play a lot of other sports. I think that definitely gave me a bit of an edge. It wasn't just basketball, so I was my body was a lot adapted to different sports, and I think that helped me.
Did you actually grow up knowing about Philippine basketball? Were you introduced to it even when you were there in Wellington?
Not so much, no. I think I watched my first PBA game live when I visited Philippines for the second time when I was 18 years old. And that's kind of how it all started.
And at that time, what was your first impression about Philippine basketball?
Oh, it's awesome. I definitely want to play here someday. That was my thought.
Well, you were playing with the FEU Tamaraws in the UAAP. Can you tell us a little bit about how you were scouted by FEU and how you landed with the team?
There was a Filipino camp in Wellington, New Zealand when I was 18, and I attended that. And FEU gave me a walk-on tryout from there, and yeah, that's when I went to the Philippines. It all started from there.
What was the reason, or what were the factors that you considered that you chose to play Philippine collegiate basketball rather than play college ball in New Zealand?
Yep, definitely more the opportunity, and obviously a chance at education as well.
All right. And you came here, and how was the adjustment when you came in and actually joined the Tamaraws?
It was a big adjustment at first, living in New Zealand for 18 years and then having to adjust to Philippine culture, the lifestyle there. But I wouldn't change a thing. I love it.
Which part was the biggest adjustment? Was it the food, or are you used to Filipino food anyway, since you grew up with a Filipino mom?
Oh, I love Filipino food. It was more just the weather at first. Just getting accustomed to the weather and being able to train in those conditions and live in those conditions.
What has been your assessment of your growth playing under Coach Olsen?
It's just in terms of getting better each year, and that's quite a relative term, but you can put a certain emphasis on getting better within your game or even just as a person.
When you talk about getting better, in particular, which skills do you think when you got here, did you feel like you needed a little more honing, and which part of your game, on the other hand, did you feel was quite ready for collegiate basketball here?
Definitely my shooting at first. Most people in FEU know that when I got to FEU, I couldn't shoot, barely. So I definitely worked on that a lot. And I think I was always ready for the physicality. It was just a matter of getting that experience, within games and all of that. Because I grew up playing rugby. It's just a different type of physicality, I think.
Were you surprised at all with the way basketball is played here? As you were saying, the physicality, and maybe since we're smaller, maybe the quickness.
Obviously, with the pace of the game.
Yeah.
But I love it. I love the Philippine style of basketball, and definitely want to play there. That's where I can see myself playing.
Well, you are in a unique situation where you got permission to play in a league in New Zealand, the NBL. So let me ask you first. The NBL, is it a professional league, or it's not considered a pro league?
I think here it's considered as a pro league, yes. But outside of this country, I think it's considered a semi-professional league, as amateurs can play in this type of setting, which I obviously did.
Well, that is the unique situation that you find yourself in. It is as you said, a professional league in New Zealand, but you were allowed permission, or you're given permission to play as an amateur. So does that mean that you were not paid for your stint with the Mountaineers?
Yes, so I had an amateur agreement contract which I signed, and yes, I did not receive any type of compensation or anything. So to keep my eligibility intact for my last UAAP year with FEU.
That is, that is quite unique, because obviously there have been a lot of players who have been disqualified in the UAP. Their eligibility has been questioned because they played in another league. But obviously, the Tamaraws were able to get the UAAP nod. Now, let me just ask you, was your decision to play in New Zealand partly due to the pandemic?
Yes, of course. I just saw it as an opportunity to get better. Yeah, and to maximize my time here while I had it.
So the decision came when you went to New Zealand. Were you there for vacation, or was it really part of your plan to join the Mountaineers already, even before you left the Philippines?
No, so I came home to New Zealand obviously because of the COVID situation, and I heard about the NZNBL trying to get their league running, obviously with the COVID here as well. Then I thought, maybe I could play in this and see what it's like. And then I went about the process of talking to FEU and then getting the approval from the UAAP board.
Well, obviously it's a much better situation that you find yourself in, considering that New Zealand has been more or less, COVID-free, better situated, less cases than the Philippines, and so I guess it was a stroke of luck or a stroke of genius.
Definitely a stroke of luck.
All right. Let me ask you. You've played in the NBL. Can you describe first New Zealand's basketball style? How does it compare with the Philippines?
It's a lot different. As I said, I think with any league, when you get to the professional ranked, it's more mindset. It's more mental in terms of skills, and you might not be the quickest or the strongest, but you really have to be mentally tough, and your basketball IQ definitely comes into play a lot.
What specific adjustments, for instance, did you have to make when you first played with your team in the NBL?
I think big adjustments for me was the foul calls. It's a lot different here. The fouls are a lot called different here. So that was definitely an adjustment for me, just staying out of foul trouble.
What do you say that? Are they, I guess, stricter in terms of the way they call? In other words, they don't allow as much physicality compared to maybe the UAAP?
It is quite physical here too, just in a different way compared to the Philippines. Players here is not as fast, and I see it's more of a mental game here.
All right.
In terms of skill, compared to skill, sorry.
I was able to catch your last game when, unfortunately, that was the game that eliminated your team, and I was quite impressed with a couple of players in your team, particularly Derona Raukawa. Can you tell us a little bit more about Raukawa? Because obviously he's going to be a name that maybe the Philippines will be facing in the future in FIBA Asia competitions.
Yeah. Derona is a really good point guard. It was kind of disappointing for him not to get the MVP because he put up some really good numbers. Definitely a New Zealand prospect that the Gilas might have to watch out for in the next few years. Yeah.
All right. Well, talking about people who are very good. Growing up in New Zealand, who are your basketball idols?
I watched a lot of NBA actually. So my NBA idol before was Manu Ginobili. And then in the PBA, Gabe Norwood. I talk to him sometimes as well.
Why Manu?
Yeah, my idols are kind of like not really. I just like the way he plays the game. Left-handed, obviously, like me. not the most popular or the most talked about, just guy who goes about his business and is effective when he's on the court.
Are you surprised that you adjusted quickly to the NBL and at the same time you made waves? You made a lot of waves back there that made the Tall Blacks consider you to be part of the pool. Are you surprised at that?
I think it was just credit to Taranaki for giving me that opportunity. Like without them, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to express my talents and what I've worked hard for. I haven't been in New Zealand for the last 5 years, so I was coming in quite unknown.
All right. Well, let's talk about a little bit about your plans. Obviously, you've made mention that you will honor your last year with the Tamaraws. Have you at all been in touch with the team, and are there any plans in terms of how the team is coming along right now?
Yeah, we actually had a Zoom call this morning. So, we're just remaining optimistic about the start of the next UAP season, whenever that will be. And at the moment, we're just training via Zoom and individual workouts to try and stay in shape. And whenever the call is to be made that we need to go back, then we'll be ready.
Are you excited with the build-up that your team is doing? Because I guess you've been following some of the news in the UAAP, and you know how much the Fighting Maroons, for instance, of UP are building up. We've also seen how LaSalle has built up, and of course, Ateneo will always be the champion that you have to topple. Are you at all confident with the way your team is building up?
The FEU has never been a team that anyone ever talks about, and I quite like that. We always come in under the radar, yet we have the most consecutive Final Four finishes to date.
Mm-hmm.
So, I'm not too worried about what other teams are doing in terms of recruitment, who they have. FEU will always compete, and I look forward to getting back out there for my final year.
Terrific. Well, you've done very well these past few weeks, and obviously that merited a call-up to the national team of New Zealand, at least to the pool. What are your plans, Ken? Are you looking to play with the Tall Blacks, and how will this affect your eligibility for the Philippines?
As of right now, my interest and my focus is with FEU. I've had a lot of questions about this before, and I'm really just focusing on my last year with FEU. It's been great that I've been noticed by both New Zealand and the Philippines. But as of right now, my focus is with FEU and graduating, and whatever happens after that, we'll make the move from there. Yeah.
So let me get this straight, Ken. So definitely there will be no participation on your part with the New Zealand national team, whether this will be in a Commonwealth Games or a non-FIBA Asia tournament. It will just, your focus will be the UAAP.
Yep.
Well, that's terrific news for all your fans in the UAAP. Of course, many are a little concerned that a stint with New Zealand could jeopardize your possible playing with Gilas Pilipinas. Are you concerned at all? Because we know that for a while your name has been put in the list as part of the Gilas pool.
I'm not really concerned. Most of that's out of my control. I'm just kind of trying to focus on what I can control. And again, that's looking after myself, preparing for my final year. As I said, things will take care of itself eventually.
All right. Well, just as my final few questions for you, what are your plans about coming home? Are you all booked and ready to go home?
Not yet. No. Again, it's very dependent on the COVID situation. And once the Philippines, gets better and cases start to go down and it gets more safe, then we'll think about returning. As of right now, I'm just trying to maximize my time here in New Zealand, make use of the resources available here, and again, try to keep getting better.
And when you talk about... Alright mga kaibigan, yan po ang ating naging panayam kay Ken Tuffin, ang ating Kiwi player na ngayon ay nagsabi nga siya, babalik na po siya sa paglalaro dito sa FEU Tamaraws. Alright, haba pa ng buhok ko nun, ano? Ibang-iba talaga pagka yung ilang araw lang dito sa pandemyang ito medyo naantala po yung pagpapalabas natin yung interview niyan. Again, nagpapasalamat tayo kay Ken Tuffin. At this point, mga kaibigan, we'll just take a quick news break. At kami po'y babalik para sa interview ni Ronnie Magsanoc at ni Benjie Paras sa Power and Play. Hatid sa inyo ng Big Boss Cement at ng Cherry Loom. Muli po nagbabalik ang Power and Play. Kamusta po lahat ng mga nakatutok sa atin sa Signal TV 1PH and of course sa ating Facebook live stream at sa Noli YouTube channel, si Joy Abaha, Ramil Salceda mula sa Tokyo, Japan, Candy Gonzales ng Hong Kong, at si Kaloy Ramos. Senyor Kaloy, magandang umaga sa iyo. Alright, at this point mga kaibigan, alam niyo po sa kasaysayan ng PBA, there is probably so many duos na naglaro. Pero ito pong susunod natin makakapanayam are perhaps maybe the best pair that we've ever seen. The most popular and perhaps the most effective. The dynamic duo noong dekada 90, mga kaibigan, the two-time MVP Benjie Paras and the point laureate Ronnie Magsanoc dito po sa Power and Play.
Even before kayo pumasok ng PBA, kayo ay magkasama na. Hindi ko masasabing magkaibigan, pero magkasama na kayo. Naglaro kayo together sa San Beda College in the juniors. And of course, napunta ka sa kayong dalawa sa UP. But Ronnie, you were older than Benjie. Kayo ba magkakilala at all even before kayo nagkita sa San Beda? O yun lang talaga ang pagkakataon na nagkasama kayo ng unang pagkakataon?
Nagsimula kasi ako mag-aral sa San Beda grade 2. Tapos from then on, naglaro na ako from grade 4 up to the time na ma-meet ko si Benjie in 1983. 83 ba yun? 82?
82.
82. So it was summer.
82.
It was summer. Isang araw may dala si Coach Ato Badulato, yung aming napakalaking pinagkakautangan ng loob na legendary coach ng San Beda Red Caps. May dalang isang bata na ang buhok hanggang dito sa balikat. Brown. Tapos ganun ang tindig. Ganun ang kamay. Pinakilala sa amin. Meron daw siyang dalang bata. Ang pangalan sa shorts, Benjie. Benjie ang pangalan sa shorts. Nakalagay. So, yun ang first meeting namin. At kami, hindi namin siya nagustuhan initially. Kasi ganun kukut, kuba. Tapos mahihain. Pero laki. Ang laking bata. Tapos, kinuha niya yung bola, dinunk niya. Gusto na namin siya.
Ikaw, Benjie naman. I mean, when you came there, yan, dinidescribe ni Ronnie yung pagpunta mo doon. Malaking bata, mahaba ang buhok. Ano naman ang impression mo nung una mo nakita yung mga veterano?
Siyempre medyo intimidated dahil ako yung pinakabata ron Kasi 82, I was only 13 years old nung pumasok ako. So hindi naman ako sanay maglaro sa school ng varsity. Sanay ako sa ligang labas lang. And kaya nung pagpasok ko, nakita ko na parang, mukhang seryoso. Saka nakita ko sila nagwa-warm up, magagaling. Siyempre, di ba, pag sanay ka sa barangay, makikita mo, lahat kayo pare-pareho Dito, ang gagaling. So kaya lang, at that time, siyempre, ano na ako noon 6'2". So kahit papano, yun na lang yung lumalakas yung loob ko na, hindi, malaki ko, kaya ko to. So yun na lang.
Noong panahon na yun, nung panahon na nasa high school kayo na San Beda, pinlano niyo ba na magsasama kayo sa college? Yun muna. Talaga bang napag-usapan yun, Ronnie? Ninyong dalawa ni Benjie?
Napag-usapan, walang napag-usapan ko. Tampering yan. Kung nagsama kami sa San Beda Red Caps ni Papa Bear, pero naging teammate din kami sa track and field team sa San Beda on the same year. Dahil si Coach Ato was also a consultant for the track and field team. And then eventually, I graduated after that year. At nag-try out ako sa UP, tapos doon ako naglaro. But throughout the course of that year, bumabalik ako parati sa San Beda kasi una-una, doon ang roots ko talaga. Saka nanonood ako ng mga ensayo nila Benjie parati. Kasi doon ako lumaki talaga Saka nandun yung mga karamihan ng kaibigan ko. Pero during the course of that school year, di pinapanood ko nga sila Benjie noon. Niyayaya na rin namin siya unti-unti na pagkatapos niyang maglaro, eventually, pag tapos ng high school niya, kung gusto niyang mag-aral sa UP at sumama sa amin eventually. But everything was his decision, of course.
At that time, Benj, obviously, magkakasama kayo. You were playing in San Beda. Nauna si Ronnie sa iyo, of course, UP. But meron bang influence kaya ka sumunod sa UP or talagang yun ang path na gusto mo? Meron bang ibang nag-offer sa iyo, Benjie, at the time?
Kasi ang nangyari niyan, during my first year, nakapaglaro kami sa NCAA, 1982, nag-champion kami. And then after that, yung San Beda kasi umalis ng NCAA. So that's why Coach Ado Badulato formed a new league, yung Metro Manila Basketball League or MMBL. Yun yung pinaglaruan namin. So ngayon, wala pa rin decision nung time na pag-graduate na ako kung babalik yung San Beda sa NC. Ayun naman, yung sinabi mo ako, yung tanong mo kanina, merong ibang teams na kumukuha sa akin. May 2 pang teams aside from UP.
Ano yung mga teams na yun na kumukuha sa iyo?
Meron yung una yung Ateneo and Lasal. So, tapos nung dumating sila Coach Ronnie, naging komportable ko nung siyempre nung sila na yung kumakausap sa akin together with Jolly pa. Tatanungin sa akin ni Ronnie, sasabihin sa akin, G, kausapin ka daw ni Coach. Samog daw gustong restaurant. Ayun. And then, eventually, nag-decide ako lumipat sa UP dahil ang una kong tanong lang kay Coach Joe is, paano bang sitwasyon dito sa UP? Kasi yung ibang teams na pinagtanungan ko, ang sabi lang sa akin ibang schools na kailangan mag-aral ka rito, kung hindi, kick out ka. Pero kompleto naman, board and lodging, libre, and yung scholarship ng 4 years. Tapos yung isang naman, ang sabi sa akin, di mo na kailangan mag-aral dito. Sabi sa akin, kaya natin to, laro lang. So medyo naguluhan ako eh. Yung isa na-intimidate ako, yung isa naman, sabi ko, ayoko naman nun. And then yung sabi ni Coach Jolly pa sa akin, dito bahala ka sa buhay mo. And then, tapos umalis na siya. So parang, okay. Sabihin, abilidad yung gagamitin mo rito.
Of course, alam naman natin lahat, you gave a championship to UP. You won a couple of multiple titles with San Beda. And after that, nagsama kayo sa Southeast Asian Games. I understand. You even played in a Guam tournament na nag-champion kayo. Before you went to the PABL and before you went to the PBA. Everywhere you go, everywhere you went, kayong dalawa, na magkasama kayo, you had championships. You were winning titles. And obviously, you enjoy playing with each other. So I guess the obvious question is, what made you click? Ano yung katangian ni Ronnie, Benj, na nakita mo na, ang sarap kasama as a teammate and as a playing partner? And on the same thing with you, Ronnie. As a big man, what did you like about Benjie? I'll start with you muna, Benjie.
Kasi kami ni Ronnie kasi halos magkalapit ng bahay. Uuna lang siyang bababa kung galing kaming San Beda, magsabay kaming umuwi after the practice. Ang sa akin lang nakita ko kasi humble siya. Pareho kaming humble. Wala kaming ere, wala kaming kumbaga star complex na pagdating sa laro or kahit sa magkita kami sa San Beda, wala kaming ganun. Although syempre may respeto ako sa kanya dahil mas ahead siya sa akin ng 3 years. So, pero yun yung nakita ko. Tapos nakikita ko rin sa kanya yung dedication niya sa basketball. Na yun din yung gusto ko kasi. Pag nagpa-practice siya, na during the practice or after the practice, meron pang extra workout. So yun ang nakikita kong magandang influence para din sa akin.
Ronnie, on your side?
Si Benjie, mula nung nakilala ko noong 1982 hanggang ngayon, hindi nagbago yan. Ang nabago lang, yung dating buhok makapal dito, ngayon dito na napunta. Si Benjie, mababa ang loob niyan at saka he's very smart, no? Kung after basketball, naging komedyante siya, pag nakilala mo siya, alam mo, he's smart, he's a thinking person, saka ang galing sa numero niyan. Ang galing sa numero. Pangit lang pula. Pero ang galing sa numero. We had a lot in common and we found out about it eventually. Pareho kaming anak ng pulis, kaya tawag namin sa sarili namin, anak ng pito, that's one.
Okay, galing.
Pareho kaming, doon sa area ng Santon at San Juan, Santa Mesa, doon lang kami umuwi. So, sabay nga kami umuwi. Minsan wala kami pamasahe. Minsan talon-talon lang sa jeep. Minsan lakad lang.
Kung saan pwedeng abutan.
O kung saan pwedeng abutan. Pero I think bakit kami nag-click? Dalawang bagay. Up to now, malaking respeto namin sa isa't isa at never kaming nagkaroon ng inggitan on anything, no? Pera, success. Maaga kong na-realize na if we can work together and we can coexist, na-realize ko naman kung sino lang talaga yung pinakasikat, pinakamagaling. Ako na tagapasa dun sa pinakasikat at pinakamagaling. MVP, di ba? At saka multi-awarded. At siguro, dagdagan ko na ng pangatlo, we have always been happy for each other's success. Kaya up to now, many years after retirement, nagtutulungan kami at saka parang kapatid natin ko kay Papa Bear eh.
Oo.
Basta kaibigan through the years.
Even your families are close naturally. And of course, napabalita yan a long time ago na kayo nagsama sa negosyo. You had a Shell gas station. Totoo ba yun? Hindi totoo
Yan ang hindi totoo.
Okay.
Hindi kami nagnegosyo ever ni Benjie. Siguro dahil kaya hanggang ngayon magkaibigan kami. Kasi we never did business together.
Yeah. Totoo yan.
But we always help each other to get some gigs o kung ano man yung pwede naming pagsamahan. In fact, when I had my coaching assignments before, ang unang-unang nasa isip ko, top of mind, is isama si Benjie kasi malaki yung paniniwala ko sa kakayahan niya at saka alam ko na he's a winner eh. Parang charm yung buhay ni Benjie talaga eh. Lahat ng gawin niya, he has always found success.
Nung time na, that was 2012, nag-coach ng San Beda, tinawagan ko pa, hindi, sabi ko, coach ka ng San Beda. Sabi sa akin, kasama ka, sabi sa akin. Ha? Sabi ko, kasama ako? Oo, kailangan. So ngayon, parang naisip ko na, sige, masaya. Kasi at least happy tayo, San Beda, tapos magkasama tayo. And parang masubukan ko naman. Kaya ayun, kaya naging sobrang happy ako na nakasama ko at napag-champion ni Ronnie yung San Beda noong time.
Ronnie, nauna ka sa Shell in 1988. You were drafted earlier ahead of Benjie, obviously. In 1987, however, si Joey pa became the coach of Shell. In a very brief stint niya sa Shell, and I found that out. Now, meron bang role yun? Malaki bang parte yung decision yung, of course, hindi mo naman pwedeng piliin yung team mo dahil drafting yan, no? Still, was it, did it make it so easy na, nanggaling doon ang aking dating coach? Or did he even say, pag nagpa-draft ka, dapat sa Shell ka pumunta, Ron?
It was never along that line of direction, one. Number two, I was supposed to play for Pure Foods doon sa aking first year. Sila yung unang kumukuha talaga sa akin. Kaya lang, they wanted to sign and trade me to Swift eventually for Al Soli. So, I wanted really to play doon sa mga national teammates namin ni Benjie. Si Alvin, si Jerry, si Tita Glenn, Capasio, sila Jolas. Dapat magkakasama kami. Yun ang usapan namin sana eh. We were hoping na one team kami aakyat. Pero yun nga, since expansion team, konti lang yung pwede. So, nung nalaman ko yon, nalungkot ako. So, sa loob-loob ko, hindi na lang muna ako magpo-pro. Next year na lang. Babalik na lang muna ako sa PAB. Tapos, after that, kinausap ako ni Coach Joe a few weeks after. Tinanong niya ako kung gusto ko maglaro para sa Shell at siya nga yung mag-coach. So, the rest is history. But initially talaga, my dream, or our dream kasi sa pagkakasama namin sa national team, sa araw-araw namin pagsasama for a very long time. Yun, sana magkakasama tayo, sana mag-teammates tayo. Kaya yung band namin gusto sana namin nasa group pero hindi nangyari. Pero yun, everything happens for a reason. Isipin mo ba naman sa susunod na taon, makakasama ko na naman yung dati kong kaibigan?
Yun nga eh. Hindi, yung ba, sinasadya yun? O, alam, as I said, it went by drafting. Pero, Benj, landing in Shell at nando na naman si Ronnie, how did it feel? Anong pakiramdam nun? Talagang para manghulog ng langit ito? Ano ba to? O sinasadya niyo ba to?
Dadaan talaga sa drafting eh.
Oo, tama.
Nung time na yon, so talagang Shell yung first pick nung time na yon.
Okay, let me go to your days in Shell dahil nanalo kayo ng Tacloban Championship, Ron, up to 1998, no? Nanalo kayo ng 3 championships together.
Dalawang magkasama. Yung isa hindi na ako kasama ni
Hindi ka nakasama in 98. Alright. Yung dalawang championship ninyo na nangyari in 1990 and of course nangyari din 1992. Pero I wanna ask about yung 1990 championship kasi yun ang una yung championship together as players, as a professional, obviously. And it was a classic series laban sa Añejo Ram. And it was eventful dahil nag-walk out ang Añejo during that particular series in game number 6. And then, in 1991, kayo na naman ang nagtagpo at napakasakit naman ang nangyari noon. Lamang kayo ng 3-1, yun yung famous Rudy Distrito shot na nakabalik ang Añejo in that 3-1 comeback laban sa inyo. Now, I want to compare yung intensity ng pakiramdam na yon. Ano sa inyo ang mas intense? Yung thrill nung una niyong kampyonato in 1990 or yung sakit nung yung pagkatalo ninyo in 1991? I'll begin with you, Ronnie.
Magkaiba kasi yun eh. Kasi yung iba is, yung una is ecstasy. Diba? Yung pagkatalo naman namin the year after, doon lang namin napatunayan na, yun nga, na ang hirap kasi maglaro talaga sa best of 7 eh. Napakahirap. Yung talagang doon mo marirealize na yung hindi ka na halos makaakyat na hagdanan. Yung after every game, feeling mo, may sakit ka na talaga. May sakit ka sa isang series. Hindi pwedeng wala. So, but eventually, we came up short. No? We were 1 win away from landing to our destination. Pero hindi nangyari. Pero yun nga. Everything happens for a reason. But eventually, the year after, nakabawi naman kami. Pero yun. Part kami
I think
the history.
Maybe the better question is, saan ka mas natuto? Anong mas nagbigay ng leksyon? Yung unang pagka-champion o yung unang pagkatalo na napakasakit?
Siyempre yung pagkatalo. Kasi yung sa championship, most of the things that you remember are things that you did right. Diba? So dito sa pagkatalo, siyempre, how could have things gone wrong for 3 straight games? No?
Okay, Benjie, ikaw, anong tumatak sa'yo? Yung unang mong kampyonato? Yung unang mong pagkatalo? Anong mga natutunan mong lessons doon, Benjie?
Una, syempre, yung masarap na feeling, yung, of course, yung unang pagka-champion dito sa PBA. And katulad yung sinabi ni Ronnie, na dito ka talaga matututo pag natalo kayo. Dahil sa tingin ko, nung pangalawang paglaban namin ng championship, nung natalo kami, medyo naging relax kami dahil lumamang na kami. Naging 3-1 eh. So parang we wanted to finish the game pero not to play the game. So parang ang nangyari, parang gusto minamadali namin na matapos. So mali. So doon kami natuto na talagang hindi lang sa finals kundi every game na hindi ka talaga pwedeng kung kailangan mo lumangan kahit tambak yung kalaban, lamangan mo na. Dahil pag nakabalik mahirap. So yun yung malaking natutunan na.
All right. I want to direct this to Ronnie and very briefly, Ron, alam natin Benjie is the only player na merong Rookie of the Year and MVP. Did you see that coming nung taon na yon? Despite the fact na hindi kayo nanalo ng championship, ha? And do you think mauulit-uli yun?
Unahin ko yung pangalawang tanong. Mauulit-uli yun? Well, records are meant to be broken no matter how long that record stays. No? Maybe in our lifetime, maybe not. Sa unang tanong, kahit hindi na champion, nakuha ni Benjie yung Rookie of the Year at MVP award. I feel that even up to now, like what I felt before, he truly deserved to be accorded that honor kasi pambihira yung nagawa niya eh. Pambihira talaga. And remember that he also was able to turn the franchise around nung dumating siya. Dahil ganun yung impact ni Benjie eh. Sa lahat ng pinuntahan niya, na nakasama ko siya, ha, yung pagdating niya, naiiba talaga yung landscape dahil ano hindi pa uso yung Philam na yan. Johnson ang middle name yan eh. Kaya parang bakulaw ang lakas ng batang yan eh. So,
Kaya
naiiba
naman,
talaga.
Kaya naman nung 1999, nung nag-MVP uli si Benjie, ang kanya naman
Yes.
mga tinalo doon, puro mga Philam. At again,
Correct.
again, nagtumatak na naman yung kanyang, yung kanyang impact sa laro, di ba? Yung
In
tatak
ending,
Benjie.
dalawang bagay lang masasabi ko kay Benjie. No? Hindi dahil sa kaibigan ko siya dati at mas mabuting kaibigan ko siya ngayon. Bihira at pambihira si Papa Bear.
Very good. Well, Benjie, on the other hand, let me ask you, and I will, alam natin si Ronnie selected as one of the 25 greatest players ng PBA. But he's a guy that never won an MVP. And obviously, ako personally, I feel Ronnie is an MVP in my book, no? But do you think Ronnie deserves more individual awards sa mga nakuha niya? Sa dami ng kanya naiambag sa laro mo?
Sa akin, yung una pa lang, like, hindi siya nag-Rookie of the Year. Pero para sa akin, yung stats niya, in the way he plays, para sa akin, dapat siya rin nanalo ng Rookie of the Year nun. And of course, aside from that, marami pa rin dapat awards na nakakuha si Ronnie. So, siguro lang, hindi nagkataon, pero pareho tayo, Kom, na para sa atin, dapat meron ding award na MVP si Ron.
Alright. When we talk about yung tandem ninyo, syempre hindi makakalimutan yan. But there was a third guy in your team na talaga namang, kumbaga, pag sinabing Shell, yun eh. Paras, Magsanoc, and Parks. Bobby Parks was 7-time best import of the PBA, and he gave you also those championships, di ba? Alam naman natin yan. So, pag tinitingnan niyo si Bobby, the late Bobby Parks, how do you rank Bobby among the greatest imports?
Sa akin, yung mga nakasabay ko, siguro si Wes Matthews and siguro Strutters. Yung mga kalibre ng laro nila. Halos pareho na pag kailangan mong score, ibigay mo na lang yung bola sa kanila. And then they'll do the rest. Yan.
Ronnie?
Ikaw na mismo nagbanggit ko, he's a 7-time Best Import Awardee. He is one of very few American players who eventually settled in the country. And there's a reason why he is also, like Coach Norman Black, became a resident import. Kasi yung sa galing niya, hindi lang talaga saksakan ng galing. Kung hindi, saksakan ng galing ng mahabang panahon. Bihira, yung hanggang nung pa-retire si Bobby, naglaro pa yan sa Happy as an import.
Tama.
And eventually, nakapag-coach din sa San Miguel. At, di ba, pati si Ray nandito, di ba, yung pedigree na naiwan niya. So I think in terms of being in the level of those who are in the top 5 at least. No? At least in the top 5 si Bobby.
Top 5. Very good. Well, alam mo, we know your tandem. It is a winning tandem. But today, marami tayong nakikita ng magagaling na players. No? Sa tingin nyo, sino ang some of the best tandems in the PBA today? Ron, ikaw muna.
I guess just a few years ago, merong Mark Agiwa at JJ Herterbrand. In our generation, probably, hindi man yung posisyon namin ni Benjie na maliit at malaki. I guess what comes to mind will be the long-time partnership between Alvin and Jerry.
Alvin and Jerry.
Kasi nag-register din yun, maski sa akin. Hindi lang yung sa PBA kasi maski nung national team, magkasama na rin silang dalawa at they complemented each other so well. And like an effective tandem, si Jerry was a perfect complement to the superstar status ni Alvin Patrimonio. Sa ngayon generation naman, perhaps Troy Rosario and Roger Pogoy combo ang nakikita ko na tandem na matagal magkakasama dito sa PBA.
Benjie, in today's PBA, sino sa tingin mo ang maaaring maging mahusay na tandem?
Well, kung yung sinabi ni Ronnie, Roger Pugoy and Troy Rosario, kung sa Hinebra naman nakikita ko si LA Tenorio and Scotty Thompson. Yan ang isa. Pero kung babalikan din namin yung panahon namin, ang nakita ko nun is si Jola saka si Johnny Abarientos.
Maganda rin yun. Maganda yun. Napakalakas ng mga tandem na nabanggit. Okay. When we talk about today's PBA and your era in the 90s, would you have enjoyed playing today? And if you compare those eras, in terms of skill, in terms of physicality and knowledge of the game?
Mahirap kasing ikumpira dahil kami mga players naman nakakapag-adjust kami. So siguro kung yung time namin, tapos yung the way of playing now, yun yung gagawin namin, makakapag-adjust naman kami. So mahirap yung comparison. Ang nakita ko lang ngayong...
Would you have,
yes.
Would you have enjoyed? Mag-enjoy ka ba ngayon, Benj, at yung tumitira sa labas
actually,
big man?
Yes. Oo, actually mas maganda yun dahil from the start during siguro in high school or college, yun na yung unang pag-aaralan ko dahil for me to be ready to join the PBA, so makikita ko na ganun na yung ginagawa ng malalaki. And yung sistema ng paglalaro ngayon, I think it will be ang makakakuha ng maganda rito ay si Coach Ronnie. Dahil nung time kasi namin, pag tumatakbo ka, tumira ka ng 3 points, bad shot yun. Bawal yun. Nung time na yun. Kailangan ball movement before you take the 3. Pero yung ngayon, sa tingin ko, mas magiging maganda yung laro ni Ronnie during kung yung time na yun.
Ronnie, would you have enjoyed playing today's game?
Going back to what Benji said earlier, 2 different eras, 2 different generations, mahirap ikumpara. But the question is, could I have enjoyed playing in this generation? I would say yes. Kasi basketball has always been our passion, and the passion to compete has always been there since we were in San Beda. So parang ang sarap lang isipin na makalaro sila Stanley Pringle, sila Jimmy Alapag, sila Japet Aguilar, di ba? Mapasahan mo, o maka-fast break kayo ng takbo ni Scottie Thompson. Actually, nabigyan kami ng magandang dream fulfillment na naman ni Commissioner Willie Marshall. Dahil last year, naglaro kami sa PBA All-Star Weekend.
Oo nga, tama. That's right.
Kami sa Pangasinan. Oo. So, nagkaroon kami ng chance. Kanya lang, puro likod na lang ang nakikita ko kasi ang bilis nila eh. Nagkaroon kami ng chance ni Benji to live that dream again, na magkatama at maramdaman mo na sarap siguro sana dati kung mabilis pa kami tumakbo, kung malakas pa kami, at kung hindi pa kami tumanda. Pero ako being able to experience that and share floor time and court time with them, golden memories na yun.
Alam mo, sabi ko nga lahat naman tatanda pero I'm sure na marami pa rin sa mga kabataan ang maraming nakamiss. Kung hindi kayo nabuhay nung panahon ni Magsanoc at ni Paras, hanapin niyo po yung mga video na yan sapagkat those were some of the best days. Those were some of the best games na talaga namang napanood natin sa kasaysayan ng PBA. Ronnie and Benji, it's always a pleasure, always an honor, always kulang ang oras, but I'm sure we will talk some more in the coming months. Maraming salamat sa inyong panahon ngayon at of course, stay safe sa inyo kung saan man kayo naroon. Alright mga kaibigan, yan po ang ating panayam with the winning tandem, Ronnie Magsanoc at si Benjie Paras. Talaga namang nakakatuwa yung kanilang mga kwento. Alright, bago po tayo magtapos, medyo pasalamat lamang kami sa Radyo 5 for the additional time. Gusto lang po nating magpasalamat sa mga nagpadala pa ng pulso nila. Si Christopher Manuel, Philippine Arena daw. Si Joel Bustamante, how about Philippine Arena? Sana may hotels, hindi tulad sa Araneta, ay high risk ng coronavirus. Si Coach Jalma Arnedo, Baguio City, ang kanyang sinasabi na pwede paglalakuhan na laruan ng PBA. And of course, kay Autism Plus sa Twitter, para sa kanya daw, Araneta Coliseum. Gusto ko rin po kamustahin ang mga nanonood pa rin sa atin, si Raj Hortaleza, si Suway Baguio, pagbati naman daw sa kanyang Lola Corazon, Pearl Siboyan at si Raul Suangco. And of course, I'd like to say get well soon kay Vincent Retuyan. Enteng, pagaling ka. At kamusta po kay Rene Balibag ng Eastern Samar at kay Governor Ben Evardone. Alright mga kaibigan, marami po salamat sa araw. Ang dami po natin tinutukan. I hope nag-enjoy kayo. Sama-sama ulit tayo next Saturday para sa talakayang hot takes, power takes, and playful insights dito po sa Power and Play. Lagi ko po sinasabi, tuwing Sabado, bawal ang masungit. At lagi po sa lahat ng ating gawain, ad maiorem Dei gloriam, all for the greater glory of God. Happy Sports Weekend, mga kapatid!